Right now, you're holding a piece of the most advanced technology human beings have ever built, the phone in your hand. The chip inside it has billions of transistors, each one smaller than a virus, carved into a sliver of silicon. And every single one of them was shaped by light. Not light from a lamp, not a laser you can buy. Light so pure, so precise, that only one machine on Earth can make it, built by one company, in one small town you've almost certainly never heard of. Not in Silicon Valley, not in China, in the Netherlands. And if that one building ever went dark, so would the modern world. So how did a country better known for tulips, bicycles, and windmills quietly end up controlling the future of technology itself? The answer changes everything you think you know about who really controls technology, how it's actually made, and the silent war now being fought over it. To understand it, you have to start with a company almost nobody outside the industry can name: ASML. Every advanced chip on the planet passes through a machine this company makes: the processor in your phone, the chips training every AI model in the world, the silicon inside fighter jets and satellites and data centers. All of it. And here's the part that sounds impossible. There is no competitor. There is no backup. Not one. And it almost never happened. In 1984, the Dutch electronics giant Philips looked at a chip-making technology it had been working on and decided it was too expensive to bother with. So they spun it off. They handed it to a tiny joint venture that set up shop in a leaky shed next to a Philips office in Eindhoven, with barely 100 employees and a roof that couldn't keep the rain out. Almost nobody expected it to survive. But that little company made a bet the entire industry thought was insane. A bet that you could build a machine to print circuits using a kind of light no one had ever tamed. Rivals in Japan and the United States looked at the same problem, decided it was impossible, and gave up. ASML didn't. Today, it's the only company on Earth that can build the machines that make the smallest, most advanced chips in existence. It controls over 90% of the entire market for the equipment that makes chips. To build one of its machines, it relies on a web of around 5,000 specialized suppliers, a network so complex that no country, not even one spending billions to catch up, has been able to copy it. And in June of 2026, ASML became the most valuable company in the history of Europe, worth more than $670 billion, more than any business the continent has ever produced. But that number misses the point, because this isn't really a supplier. This is a choke point. The entire digital world runs through a single door, and only the Netherlands holds the key. But owning the market is one thing. To understand why nobody, not China, not the United States, not anyone, has been able to simply copy them, you have to understand what the machine actually does. And it sounds like science fiction. To carve lines just a few atoms wide, you need light with an almost unimaginably short wavelength, 13.5 nanometers. And there's a problem. No lamp makes that light. No laser you can buy makes that light. So ASML had to create it from nothing. Here's how. Deep inside the machine, a droplet of molten tin, a fraction of a millimeter across, falls through a vacuum. As it falls, a laser hits it, not once, twice. The first pulse flattens the droplet into a tiny pancake. The second vaporizes it completely into a burst of plasma heated to around 220,000 degrees. That's roughly 40 times hotter than the surface of the sun. And in that flash, the plasma releases the exact light they need. Then it happens again and again, 50,000 times, every single second. But here's the part that's almost harder to believe. That light is so fragile, it gets swallowed by glass, by air, by almost everything it touches. It can't shine through a lens. It can only bounce off mirrors. So the German optics company Zeiss spent decades learning to build them. And these mirrors are the smoothest objects human beings have ever manufactured. Anywhere. Ever. How smooth? If you took one of these mirrors and blew it up to the size of Germany, the entire country, the largest bump on its surface would be about 1 millimeter tall. Now put it all together. A machine that turns droplets of metal into light hotter than the sun and steers that light off the flattest surfaces ever made to carve patterns finer than anything in nature. The finished machine weighs around 200 tons. It contains 100,000 parts. It costs up to $400 million. And it's so enormous, it takes 7 Boeing 747s to deliver a single one. This wasn't engineering anymore. This was closer to alchemy, turning a drop of tin into light and light into the foundation of the entire modern world. So now ask the question that changes everything. If one machine from one company in one country makes all of it possible, every phone, every computer, every weapon, every AI, then what happens the moment governments realize that? Because they did realize it. And the instant they understood what ASML truly was, it stopped being a technology company. It became the single most powerful bargaining chip on the planet. Consider this. ASML has never shipped one of its most advanced machines to China. Not a single one. In 2019, under pressure from the United States, the Dutch government quietly declined to renew the export license before even one machine could leave the country. Then, in 2023, and again in 2024, they went further, restricting the export of even the older, less advanced machines. Stop and think about what that actually means. A country of just 17 million people can now decide who is and who is not allowed to build the future. Not with an army, not with oil, with a single factory in the south of the country. Because whoever controls these machines controls who can make advanced chips. And whoever makes the advanced chips controls artificial intelligence, controls the economy, controls the weapons and the wars of the next 100 years. That is why one small European nation now sits at the center of the biggest power struggle of our time. Not because of what it has under the ground, because of what it builds above it. The most important weapon of the 21st century isn't a missile. It's a machine that makes light. And it's parked in a quiet town in the south of the Netherlands. We think of power as something loud. Armies, oil fields, aircraft carriers. We look for it in Washington, in Beijing, in Moscow. But what if the real power, the kind that decides what everyone else is even allowed to create, isn't loud at all? What if it's sitting silently, right now, in a spotless clean room, in a town most people couldn't find on a map, quietly shaping the entire future of the human race? One company that began in a leaky shed. One machine that turns a droplet of tin into light 40 times hotter than the sun. One small country, holding the door to the entire digital age. Every AI model, every phone, every chip, in every device you will ever own. All of it traces back to a place you would never think to look. So the next time you pick up your phone, remember this. The most advanced object you own was shaped by a machine you will never see, in a town called Veldhoven. And almost nobody even knows it's there.